chair this session for Buddhism, and we are very happy and honored to have three speakers. Probably I'll keep my comment at the end. We will see the time, and then my comment will be at the end. And because it's very important for us to listen to the presenters, and that is more important than the opportunities that the chair have in monitoring and seeing comment on the topic of discussion. So I'll introduce each speaker, and then after that we will let the speaker take the floor. Then after the third speaker, we will open the floor for discussion, and hope it will be a lively discussion. The first speaker of our session, Buddhism session today, is Professor Seiji Kumagai. He received his PhD in Buddhist philosophy from Kyoto University in 2009. He served as assistant professor of Professor at Hakubi Center for Advanced Research, senior lecturer at Kyoto Women's University, and associate professor and division director at the Kokoro Research Center, Kyoto University. He is also a visiting professor and researcher in several universities, including University of Delhi. One thing I would like to share about Professor Seiji Kumagai is that he is the brain and driving force behind, branding this term Buddhism, and for that we really, the Sangha of Bhutan appreciated his work and efforts, and so the topic that he will be addressing today is the education of Tsangpa Gyare, as you might have known, the founder of the dragon tradition, the Drukpa tradition. So, Professor, I think the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you here who came from abroad after long distance. And as he explained, I'm studying Buddhist philosophy in general, but recently I'm also studying history, Buddhist history. And there's a very big pressure to give a presentation in front of such a great scholars and professors that I'm very happy to share with precious time with you. And today I will talk about the education of Tsangpa Gyare as the basis of the pedagogic system of the Drukpa Kagyu school. The Tsangpa Gyare is the founder of Drukpa Kagyu school, which is the state religious school, Buddhist school in Bhutan. And you know that Bhutan is a Buddhist kingdom in Himalaya, so that's why Buddhism has influenced Bhutan's culture and society, including gross national happiness, of course. And the kingdom is called Drukpa, as you know, or the country of Drukpa Kagyu school. I translate always like that, not Dragon's country, according to its history. While Bhutan means Bota Anta, and that means the edge of Tibet. But in Dzongkha and Chuke, Drukpa is the Drukpe, Drukpa Kagyu, Drukpa Kagyu Pe, Yu, so the country of Drukpa Kagyu school. because Drukpa was established by the 17th chief abbot of the Drukpa Kagyu school, Shabdunje, so it is necessary to focus on the Drukpa Kagyu school when we think about Bhutan as a nation. Of course, while there have existed many Buddhist schools, such as Nyingma and still Gyaluk school, and the Sakya school recently disappeared after 1959. If you want to know about the disappearance of Sakya in Bhutan, please check my paper, previous paper. But unfortunately, Tsangpa Gyare, the founder of the Drukpa Kagyu school, is still unknown in detail. Other Drukpa Kagyu masters such as Shabdunje, Pema Kalpo, Drukpa Kunde, and so on have been sufficiently studied. Here is a question: why don't we know about Tsangpa Gyare? Because the collected works of Tsangpa Gyare were not accessible until recently. So many aspects of his life and character have been unknown in detail. And Western scholars and modern scholars have mainly used Dharma annals, so-called Chujun or Gerap or Dunrap, such as Teptel Gompo, to study Tsangpa Gyare indirectly and only superficially. But it is necessary to study Tsangpa Gyare directly through his biographies and his collected works in detail in order to accurately grasp his life and characteristics. And another question: how did Tsangpa Gyare create and develop his ideas and views? I believe that his idea is the basis of Drukpa, because Shabdunje is a reincarnation, is regarded as a reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare. So, so Tsangpa Gyare's philosophy is the source of this country. And his fundamental conceptions and knowledge were formed and developed along his educational experience in childhood and young age. So that's why this presentation aims to clarify how he received education in such formative years as to become a great practitioner and philosopher. And I'm using 7 biographies for this research, including 3 composed by his direct disciples, composed in the early in the 13th century. And I'm now compiling a critical edition of Tsangpa Gyare's biographies, the 7 biographies, comparing different manuscripts. And I'm also using 4 Dharma annals and 1 Dukta treatise, Tuken Dukta, for this research. And I'm also correlating the description in the biographies and Dharma annals and his collected works, whether so in order to check, verify, and confirm whether the descriptions in biographies and Dharma annals are correct or fake. And relatively, the descriptions in biographies and Dharma annals are correct, while they lack some information. So that's why we need to also read his collected works to accurately grasp his character and his life. And here I'd like to briefly overview his life, Tsangpa Gyare's life, and the Drukpa Kagyu school. And as you know, there are 4 chief schools, surviving chief schools in Himalaya and Tibetan cultural areas, such as Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, and Gyaluk schools. And Drukpa Kagyu is, as you know, one of the sub-schools of Kagyu school. And this is the list and chart according to Tuken Dukta regarding Kagyu lineage. And you know, Marpa is the founder of Kagyu school in Tibet, who studied with Naropa in India. And Milarepa, as his chief disciple, he became one of the most important and famous practitioner in Tibet, in Tibetan cultural areas. And among the disciples of Milarepa, Takpolaje synthesized the doctrine of Kagyu according to the Kadampa tradition. And among 4 disciples or chief disciples of Pakpolaje or Gampopa, Pak Modupa became one of the most important figure, both religiously and politically. And Pak Modupa is said to have had 8 chief disciples, and among them, Rinlepa Pema Dorje became a root master of Tsangpa Gyare. I'm now writing another paper where I'm proving the Rinle Kagyu school and Drukpa Kagyu school are different. And both traditional and modern scholars regard both Rinle Kagyu and Drukpa Kagyu to be identical. Even in Tukan Drukta, he regard both schools to be identical, but I have a different idea, and both schools are different. Of course, Tsangpa Gyare is one of the very important disciples. He became the most famous disciple among the disciples of Rinle. But I believe that he is not the direct successor of the Rinle Kagyu school. But anyway, I'm now writing another paper, but we shall come back to today's topic. And this is the list of chief abbot of Drukpa Kagyu school, according to Professor Yoshiro Imaeda's book. And among them, Gerwanje Kunga Penjo is one of the most important abbot, not only as a chief abbot of Drukpa Kagyu school, but also as a reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare. So he was recognized as the reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare more than 200 years after the death of Tsangpa Gyare. And then the 4th reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare is, Kunken Pema Karpo. He's called Kunken, that means Sarvajanya, omniscient. So he is the most important and popular and famous monk scholar in the history of Drukpa Kagyu school. So that's why the 5th reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare was very problematic. And there appeared 2 candidates, Shabdun Gawan Namgyal and Pak San Wampo. And Tsang Desi, the regent of Tsang region, regarded and confirmed the Pak San Wampo as the genuine reincarnation of Kunken Pema Karpo. So that's why Shabdunje moved from Tibet to the place of current Bhutan. And then he unified the place and he founded the nation called Drukpa. So that's why the Drukpa is Drukpa Kagyu Yu. So and then they split into 2 schools. So called Foduk, the southern Drukpa Kagyu, and Chandpo Puduk, so on northern or Tibetan Drukpa Kagyu school. And there are 2 different traditions, but the essence, the origin is the same, of course. And by the way, when I visited the Larun monastery in Tibet, and very interestingly, still the Larun monks belonging to the lineage and Dharma lineage of Pak San Wampo still appreciate Shabdung Namgyal. So they appreciated both reincarnations, but there was only one option. So that's why Shabdunje moved from Tibet to the place of Bhutan. But this is a political reason, because of political reason, but spiritually they did not deny the existence of 2 types of reincarnation. Anyway, and this is a short list of Tsangpa Gyare's life. He was born in 1161, and he became a novice monk at age around 12. And there are many different information about his years, and according to different biographies. So we need to refer to various biographies. If we read only 1 or 2 biographies, then the information is very limited. And he became a disciple of Rinle at age around 22, and he became a fully ordained monk at age 33. And then just before, after his becoming a fully ordained monk, he established the first monastery, Londol Gompa, at the age around 33. And then after that, he founded the Laru Monastery in Tsang, and then finally he established a Drukpa Monastery in Wu region. And he passed away at age 51. And this is, sorry, a long introduction. But now I'm talking about the education of Tsangpa Gyare. So he received a lot of education before meeting his root master Rinlepa. First of all, he had two different backgrounds as a Bonpo family and Buddhist family. His father belonged to Bonpo family, and his mother, Marasataraki, belonged to a Buddhist family. So he touched both cultures, Bonpo culture and Buddhist culture. So actually he didn't discriminate or look down on Bon tradition. He appreciated Bon tradition. And especially his first teacher, one of the first teacher was Bon master, Lopon Bon. So the Bonpo master taught him, but Buddhist doctrine, not Bon doctrine. There is no description about the Bonpo education about Tsangpa Gyare. And regarding his language teacher, there are three different names: Tatampa, Karlumpa, and Kerine. Kerine is his brother, and Tatampa is a Geshe Pandit, monk scholar of Kadampa school. And Karlumpa is also a scholar. He is good at both Sutrayana and Vajrayana. And he studied many topics about Sutrayana Buddhism. For example, he studied logic treatises such as Pramana Samuchaya, Vinishya, Vartika, Tsemananda. So actually, he's really good at logic debate, and he won the debate with his master Rinlepa. So we understand that he was really good at debating and logic. And he also studied Abhidharma Kosha, Munzu, and also Bodhicharya Avatar, Chunju. And he also studied Yogacara texts, such as Yogacara Bhukuni, and Madhyamaka texts such as Nagarjuna's 6 logical works, so-called Ruduki, Uma, Riktoptuk, and Prajna Paramita, Parchin. So he studied fundamental subjects. And he also studied Vajrayana Buddhism. For example, He Vajra and Chakrasambhara and Nama Sangiti. He studied such basic Vajrayana text. And very interestingly, he also studied Dzogchen and Shiche. So that's why he also appreciated the Nyingma tradition. He did not discriminate Nyingma. So he is a person cunning, Sunjuk. So that's why now in Bhutan there are both Nyingma and Kani, and you don't discriminate, you don't refuse each other. But this is the tradition of Tsangpa Gyare, so we can attribute to his education and research. And he also studied Shiche. While he didn't write any treatise about Dzogchen and Shiche. And there are at least 18 teachers of Tsangpa Gyare, including his brother Kelden and Tatampa, the Geshe Tatampa, and Karlumpa. Omtampa is also the Geshe of Kadampa school. And Bon master, so he had also the teacher of Bon tradition. And there are many more teachers. So we have no time to introduce all of the teachers' names. And his teacher, Yun, 15, the name seems to be a little bit Bon-like, but he taught him Prajna Paramita, Parchin. So we are not very sure whether he is really a Bonpo or not. And after meeting his root master, Rinlepa, and he already studied a lot Sutrayana philosophy. So he had nothing to study about Sutrayana philosophy from his Rinlepa. Rather, he won a debate with Rinlepa. There is a very interesting episode. And one day Rinlepa asked Tsangpa Gyare to have a debate together, but Tsangpa Gyare refused first in order to avoid impoliteness. But Rinlepa ordered him again to give some question. And finally, Tsangpa Gyare asked him a question about the definition of body of reality. That means Dharmakaya, so Chuku. So Chukuki Tsenikare, he asked the question. And the Rinpoche replied, the definition of body of reality is that which has no arising, ceasing, and dwelling. That is Kegak Netan Drukpa. Then Tsangpa Gyare then pointed out his contradictory result. Kagyu, he pointed out the space Namka would also become the body of reality. So Namka Inayam Kegak Netan Drukpa Imbatan. So Dharmakaya Chuku Imbata, and in this Tsangpa Gyare replied. Because that's not completely wrong, but the definition is not incapable, not complete, and it does not have complete pervadation. So Dharmakaya is, so Keraknetan, there was a definition of a kind of explanation of a Sanskrit Dharma, so Dujekichu. So Namkai na Dujekichu in the camp. So Namkai na Kegak Netan, there were in the camp. The Dharmakaya Chukusena Nirvana, Dujekichu, Chuku in Kegak Netan, there were in the camp. So both pervaded this definition, but there is no incapable, not equal pervasion relations. So anyway, Rinpoche's response is not completely wrong, but not accurate. Then Tsangpa Gyare pointed out the contradiction. Then Rinpoche, his root teacher, admitted his own fault and appreciated his ability, Tsangpa Gyare's ability. And then he told him not to hold debates with his Dharma brothers. Anyway, this is a very interesting episode. But regarding Vajrayana, Tsangpa Gyare studied very a lot from Rinpoche. And for example, Chakrasambhara, Nalasangiti, and Hevajra Tantra, he studied again. And Mahamudra and Doha, it seems to be the first time for him to study Mahamudra and Doha from Rinpoche. So, you know, the Mahamudra is a very core of Drukpa Kali school. And very interestingly, he already studied Dzogchen. So, he already understood the essence, and maybe he might regard them both essentially identical. So, Ngochu, Drukpa Tade, like that. Then he finally, thanks to the Rinpoche's oral teaching, he understand the core essence of Mahamudra, and also he studied the very important text, Doha Kosha, and so there are so many topics he learned from Rinpoche, many texts and rituals, and also accomplishment and empowerment, yes, like that, and the Doha Kosha also, and Mahamudra, and he also studied Ronyon Koruk, very important doctrine of Kagyu school. So like that, before meeting Rinpoche, he already studied both Sutrayana and Vajrayana, but especially after meeting Rinpoche, he learned a lot about Vajrayana doctrine and meditation. And after the death of Rinpoche at age 28, he concentrated on his meditation, and finally he became Drukpa. And after that, he became a Geron at age 33, fully ordained monk. Then he studied his education. After finishing his education, and he started to educate his disciple in mainly two monasteries, in Rarum Monastery and Duk Monastery, both in Wu and Tsang regions. And so anyway, I conclude. And he received both Buddhist. He received Buddhist education from Bonpo master. So he received influence from both Buddhism and Bon tradition. So he is a kind of a remote person. He did not discriminate Bon tradition, and he studied both Sutrayana and Vajrayana. Rather, he focused on Sutrayana philosophy, studying Sutrayana philosophy before meeting Rinpoche. And after meeting and before meeting Rinpoche, he also studied Dzogchen and Shiche. So he was interested in many subjects, not only about Kagyu tradition. And okay, I will finish very soon. And he already had a higher competence about Sutrayana philosophy than his root master. And he developed his skill to compose many spiritual points, such so-called guru, and practical manners, which are not mentioned in his biography. So we need to read his collected works to get such information. And as I said, he gave education in both Rarun and Drukpa monastery in Wu and Tsang. Then he could efficiently recruit the young monks, and he also gave instruction to secular lay public. He did not discriminate the rich person and poor person. So he gave instruction to local leaders, and also gave teaching to nomads and farmers. So such flexible his characteristics met the needs of potential disciples with different backgrounds, different types of characters and mentalities, and finally resulted in increase of their number of disciples. He is said to have had 2,800 chief disciples, and it is said that 100,000 adherents joined in his funeral ceremony. So he really attracted so many monks and the lay public. And anyway, such his educational policy is still continued in the current Drukpa Kagyu school in Bhutan and also outside Bhutan. And for example, as Dasho Karmaura wrote, and the current Bhutanese monastic body adopted both Sutrayana education and Vajrayana education. Regarding Sutrayana education, you are studying Madhyamika, Abhidharma, and Prajnaparamita, and logic and monastic discipline. And those topics are okay. The subject Tsangpa Gyare studied. Anyway, okay. Finally, I will say. And so such Tsangpa Gyare's characteristics, diversity and tolerance, is of course the basis of the diversity and tolerance of Shakyamuni Gyare, who is the reincarnation of Tsangpa Gyare, who established the country Drukpa. And it's succeeded by his Majesty the Fourth King, who advocated gross social happiness. And such features, such characteristics is also found in the current constitution enacted in 2008. So the Tsangpa Gyare's philosophy and his ideas are still surviving in Bhutanese society as a basis of Bhutanese identity. And so, thank you very much for your kind attention.